Ready.
Hi, my name is Joshua Montgomery, and our project here, we decided that Morocco needs to be directly invested with wheat. And we are going to go one by one and discuss how and why this is a good idea. Dion, Celine, Judy, and Chris have all prepared their own slides, and they're going to discuss it independently. Judy will be up first, and take it away, Judy.
Oh, thank you, Joshua. Morocco is located on the edge of the huge Sahara Desert. Although parts of Morocco are rainy and suitable for grain production, the climate is huge variable. And with the national diet being wheat, it plays a significant role in Morocco being a major importer. According to the International Grains Council, Morocco's total wheat production in 2019 was 7 million tons. But following year, due to drought, it decreased dramatically to 2.6 million. And then the next year, 2021, it went up to 8.1 million. As you can see, the climate is a big variable. Next. In 2020, Morocco imported a $1.28 billion worth of wheat, which makes it 11th largest importer in the world and 4th most imported product in Morocco. Morocco mainly import wheat from France, Canada, Ukraine, Russia, and Germany. However, due to the war between Ukraine and Russia, the government of Ukraine has imposed restrictions on the export of certain agricultural products, including wheat, which will result in significant increase in international prices, but it will create opportunities for many other countries to enter the market. Next. Morocco is not a huge exporter of wheat. As you can see, in 2020, Morocco exported only $115,000 worth of wheat, which makes it 94th largest exporter, which is at the bottom. And they mainly exported to Spain and France. Next. Oh, although the increased wheat production in Morocco in 2021 resulted in a reduction in wheat imports, the USDA officials provided official estimates that wheat exports are expected to return to normal in marketing year of 2022. Now, Joshua is going to explain about the market potential in Morocco. Go.
Yes, so I'll be covering three aspects to the situation: the domestic demand, how government's going to back us, and expected price increase within the region. Next slide. So first, domestic consumption. Morocco has an absurdly high wheat consumption rate. I think they're 4 times higher than per capita than any other country on the planet. They consume more wheat, and they don't seem to have a comparable resource. The government has tried to bring in rice product and barley, and it really just quite hasn't filled that demand that wheat has done before. And its current domestic production is being supported. It is currently going up slowly over time. It needs more room and more attempt, but I think that because of these two products, that is why there's room to enter the market, specifically for on the demand side of the economics curve. Next slide. Government backing. This is another important part. The government subsidizes $410 million US dollars towards wheat production within the country. Again, this is going back to the values of Morocco. It is a very culturally important product for them. So the government wants to have people come in, plant, and grow this product in the country so that they don't have to have it shipped all over the God's green earth just so that their people can eat their favorite product. The other ways that government helps is by imposing tariffs. This is why this is where our solution to how we enter into the Moroccan market comes in later. But it's a 30% tariff was increased to a 135% tariff on wheat. Again, that is the government signaling that they want more domestic production. And I think that's why we should be there to fulfill that production. Next slide. Lastly, the global supply. as everyone knows right now, there's a war going on between Ukraine and Russia. And this Russia and Ukraine are the two largest providers to one of the two largest providers of wheat to the global supply. This is going to raise prices. This means that if you want to jump into a market right now within the commodity of wheat, now's the great time to do it. Because any sort of cost that you might have, any sort of cost that you might incur in like initial investment into the regions will now be offset by the increased prices that you will have within your initial investment. Additionally, when you get into the region, you will no longer have to deal with the tariffs that Morocco has imposed. And other countries that Morocco has had trade deals with, you will be able to trade with them out of Morocco. This is a win-win deal for the region, win for Morocco, and win for our investment. All right, now passing it on to Celine.
Thank you, Joshua. I will be talking about the competitive intensity of this market, and there are two main sections: the main competitors of the market and the nature of the competition. Next slide. All right, so the main competitors that Morocco has, as Joshua stated, was Russia. They are the largest wheat exporter in the world, and they export about 24 million tons of wheat, which makes up about 23.92% of the world's market share. Canada is also considered the second largest wheat exporter in the world, and they export about 22.8 million tons of wheat. And that accounts for about 12.44% of the world's market share. The next largest wheat exporter is the US. They export about 22.5 million tons of wheat, comprising of 12.24% of the world's market share. Together, these countries already make up 48.6% of the world's market share in the wheat industry. Nearly half of all exports of wheat are just from 3 countries. The next largest wheat exporters are France, Ukraine, Australia, and Argentina, making up about 10.3%, 8.9%, 6.7%, and 6.4% of the wheat market share, respectively. And you can see that on the pie chart. Next slide, please. All right, so the nature of competition in the wheat industry is a perfect competition. This means that there are many buyers and sellers in this trade, and goods are homogeneous or similar in terms of size, quality, and even packaging. Under perfect competition, sellers are unable to control the price at which they sell their goods. The price is determined by the demand of the buyers and the supply of the sellers. Wherever the supply and demand meet, that is where the price will be set at. For example, if the supply and demand cross over each other at the quantity of 10 million tons of wheat, then we can look at the graph showing the marginal and average total cost at that quantity. Whatever price is set at that quantity will be the price sellers have to sell them at. If the price per ton is $400 at the demand level, then sellers have no choice but to sell it at that price. In addition, there is symmetric information between the buyers and the sellers. So sellers would not be able to charge at higher price even if they wanted to, because buyers know the real price and would not buy from them at the high price. Lastly, competitors under this type of competition can freely enter or exit the market as they please. And I will hand it off to Christopher, and he will be talking about the entry modes.
Hi, thank you. So the ideal mode of entry is going to be a joint venture. And now I'll be going over some of the benefits of doing this. First of all, it's less risky than other methods because things like profits and losses are going to be shared. Also, it's less expensive in general because it won't involve purchasing land or building a new facility. We'll be able to partner with a company or a firm that already has these assets. Additionally, the war in Ukraine poses a threat to neighboring countries. So building a new facility not only is expensive, but it could be targeted by Russian forces if they decide to enter Morocco. Another benefit of a joint venture will be the shared knowledge and assets. Significant differences in our cultural norms make the process of entering on our own much more complex, just for that reason alone. Also, it'll put pressure on competitor profits and market share because it won't be as much of a challenge or as much of a cost for us to go and team up with someone as opposed to doing everything on our own. Namely, Russia, the largest exporter of wheat, especially considering how they're at war with Ukraine. Next slide, please. So a direct investment joint venture will reap benefits such as the knowledge that the local people have in farming and just the market in general. We'll be able to partner our techniques and their labor to optimize our investment. The government subsidization also it'll foster positive relations between our two countries. And as previously stated, the costs of doing this will be decreased and the profits will be increased as well, even though they'll be shared. Additionally, there will be tax breaks and different strategies which we can utilize to really make an effective investment. Now I'll be handing it off to Dion to go ahead and explain our plans to sustain performance in this market.
And thank you for that, Christopher. So sustaining performance, what we'd like to do is really align ourselves with the different parts of Morocco. So one of the things that they're really big on is environmental agreements. So things like Climate Change Act, the ozone layer protection, and endangered species protection. So looking at all of those different acts that they have and really aligning ourselves will help us sustain performance in the environmental area. Another thing is workplace environment. 99% of citizens there are Muslim, they speak Arabic, and the nationality is Moroccan. They don't really have many people to migrate towards Morocco. So everybody is pretty much on the same accord. We want to make different accommodations to Muslims in the workplace environment, as well as have Arabic speaking support, whether that's having people that actually speak Arabic to help our managers or having our managers speak Arabic themselves. Another thing is looking at the Hofstede dimensions for Morocco. So if you look at the chart, we have aspects like power distance, individualism, masculinity. And the three main ones we want to focus on for Morocco is individualism, long-term orientation, and uncertainty avoidance. So a big thing in Morocco is they're very traditional, and even the government is trying to get them out of that. And you'll see more about that in the next slide. Long-term orientation, they are very low on that. They don't really look towards the future with a lot of their assets and stuff like that. And individualism, this is good in some areas, but with this, they work together and we want to keep that going. So more on sustaining performance, we want to look at the triple bottom line. Like I stated before, planet and environmental, we want to align ourselves with government agreements. And on top of that, one of the main things for Morocco is treating the soil so it can be more healthy and they don't really lose crops. So we'll assign a team that specializes in soil health to partner with small farmers and also share that research to help the country in a whole. So next we have profit and economics. This will increase the overall wheat production and break the record again. Last year, Morocco broke their record of 10 million tons produced. This year, we'll look to increase that as well. Government funding, tax breaks from the government subsidies will also help us lower our bottom line. Right now, Morocco has a 40% workforce in the agriculture area. The government looks to increase that as well, and we look to partner with them to do the same. For people in social groups, the government has an agreement going on right now, a plan that they started a few years ago called Generation Green, where they look to expand their jobs in agriculture and add about 350,000 different jobs in agriculture. This will help promote human and social development, as well as increase wheat production so we can fund the demand. Overall, we went over how Morocco can benefit from our direct investment with a joint venture Overall, we went over how our direct investment joint venture can help Morocco increase the supply for their demand. We looked at tax breaks, government subsidies. We looked at the competition, tariffs, and overall, we think that wheat will be a good product for Morocco to invest in. Thank you for watching. Have a nice night.